God. Let them be on board with all the things that you've called this house to do. And help us to do it well. Help us to do it with tenacity. Help us to do it with grace. Help us to do it with kindness and love. We want only to please you. Forgive us, God, of our sins. Help us to walk uprightly unto you. Wrap your arms around us. Heal us, restore us, make us. God, we love you. We worship you. We thank you for your Son and his blood that washes us clean every day. Your mercies are new, and we thank you for clothing us in them. All these things we ask in your Son Jesus' name. Amen.
If you love the Lord, put your hands together, give him some praise on Wednesday night. I was talking about the Chiefs that we did, but I said, come on, let's give the Lord a hand of praise on a Wednesday night. You know, he's still worthy. He's still worthy to be praised, even on Wednesday night. Demons tremble at the name. It's the sweetest name, sweetest name. Good evening, everybody. Good to see y'all. I thought it was going to be cold in here. Yeah. She said it is cold in here. She's been singing hard to get me warm. How y'all doing? Everybody good? Well, put your seatbelts on. We in for a ride. I'm about to try to dump everything on y'all that got to put on me, so it don't have to be on me no more. You all are responsible for it. Just continue to keep those individuals on our prayer list in our prayers. My father's still in the hospital, but doing much better. So thank you for your prayers for him. We just got news last night. Janita Sims passed away, and so we need to keep that family in your prayers, please. As they prepare for the services, as soon as we know something, we'll let you go on. Anybody else in the hospital or sick that I don't know about? Physically, all of us got some mental stuff going on, man. Physically, all right? Okay, so that's good news. I ain't planning on funerals this week. That's good news. And only one person I know I need to go visit in the hospital. That's good news. Hopefully he'll be able to get to leave on tomorrow, but that's still yet to be determined. All right. So for the next couple of weeks, until I get through giving y'all everything God gave me, we're going to be, I'm going to be recapping for you all this pilgrimage that I took through the civil rights movement from Atlanta to Birmingham to Selma and to Montgomery, and suggest to you all that it's important that we know history, and trust me, what you read in books and what you learned in school ain't it. And so we got to do a much better job of educating ourselves so we can educate our children and our grandchildren and our children's children on why it's so important for you and I to stay together. So I don't know how this is going to go. Y'all pray for me. I'll get through the points as they are listed, but there was something extremely disturbing, moving, and enlightening at the same time throughout the entire event. So we are already, in my mind, we're already trying to plan a trip for our kids for next year as we get back to taking our kids out of town every year so they can experience something other than Kansas City. So if you've been outside of Kansas City, you know Kansas City ain't it. There's a whole lot more to the world than just Kansas City. So we want to, before they get out of high school, expose them to some other things. And so now the pandemic's over and we get settled, we can start working on some things that we want to do going forward. One of those things is reinstitute our summer trip for the kids, even if it's just for a weekend, how many days we want to do it, but we need to start planning that. All right, so my suggestion is going to be that they take this pilgrimage from Montgomery to Selma to Birmingham and then ultimately to Atlanta to end in Atlanta. We did it backwards. In my mind, we did it backwards because everybody flew into Atlanta. We started in Atlanta with the King's Home, Dexter Avenue Church, then went to Birmingham, then went to Selma. Chronologically, though, it would make sense to start in Montgomery because Montgomery's were one of the ports were that they actually dropped slaves off, coming enslaved people. We're trying to change the verbiage and not slaves. Slaves is another title. Enslaved people from Africa over here, and not just here. Y'all know why Jamaica's so black? Because they took enslaved people from Africa, they dumped them off in Jamaica too. All those Caribbean islands that look like us, they weren't born there. They were delivered there, and most of them started in Africa. That's a little known history fact you didn't even know this. You just thought Jamaicans were Jamaicans. No, Jamaicans are Africans that got taken to Jamaica. All right. Look at our theme always going to talk about. I'm sorry, we're not believing God's wrath, but we have had Bible study. So this month we're believing in the waves of God. That stuff happens in waves. Life happens in waves. I won't adjust it. So our vision is His kingdom. Our mission is action to healing people, helping people be made whole, both spiritually, mentally, emotionally, and physically. Okay. So tonight and maybe even tomorrow night, I don't know if you can see the background. Can you see the background? The background is cement column with hands coming up, but the symbolism is the hands are actually coming up out of the water. So the symbolism is those individuals who didn't make it. The middle passage, there was estimated at least probably somewhere where a little more than 2 million people that didn't make the trip from Africa. They got on the ships in Africa, but never made it to the destination. They died at sea. Unnamed, unknown people that we'll never know, to the tune of 2 million. Did y'all hear what I said? So here's a sobering fact as far as where I think we need to start, and we're going to start repairing some mistakes. United States history is a brutal, bloody, violent, vicious, terroristic, traumatic reality when it comes to Black or African American. And blood still cries out. If you look at Genesis chapter 4, verse number 10, you'll see the very first sin in the Bible. What was the very first sin in the Bible? I'm sorry, the second sin in the Bible. What was the second sin? Cain killed Abel. And in Genesis chapter 4, y'all can turn real quick, Genesis 4:10. This is still Bible study. And I promise you, the scriptural context to all this is extremely important as well. Genesis 14, somebody that has it, go ahead and read it for me. Genesis 14, whoever got it first.
And he said, "What have you done? The voice of my brother's blood cries out to me from the ground."
The voice of my brother's blood cries out to me from the ground. God is speaking to Cain, who was killed Abel because Cain's sacrifice was not accepted by God and Abel's was. He loses his life, and when God comes to reckon with Cain, he says, "What have you done?" And whether you tell me or not, the blood is crying out from the ground. What I want to suggest to you is the blood is still crying out from the ground. Because in the Cain and Abel case, the problem was you killed him without cause. So when you think about the 2 million people that lost their lives at sea, and the estimate is anywhere between 10 to 12 million that were enslaved people, and we will never have the record of all the blood that was shed and all the lives that were lost. We'll never have a good record of the total toll that was taken. But we do know that blood's in the ground. And that vicious, terroristic, traumatic reality in America is going to scar us until we take care of it. Because in Cain's case, God was coming to deal with Cain. And if God had to deal with Cain, guess what? Isn't it interesting? I don't want to get into the argument about it, but isn't it interesting how appalled we are about what's going on in the Middle East right now? And we should be. But America ain't got no ground to stand on when it comes to unjustly killing folks. Amen, lights. You know, and trying to rewrite the history books, I promise y'all, this is what angered me. At 61, I'm on this trip and I'm finding out stuff I didn't know. And I'm thinking I'm pretty, you know, I'm blacker than black. I got 2 cards. Y'all take one of my black cards, I got a backup. I'm thinking and I'm on this, and I'm finding out stuff, I'm like, who knew this? Who knew the toll that it took? Picture this in your mind, because we start with America, but just picture the fact they had to go to Africa and steal the people and kidnap them in the first place. There are many that didn't make it off the shores of Africa because they put up a fight and got killed in Africa. We'll never know how many of those. I didn't bring the pictures, but one of the pictures that's extremely sobering is a picture of the hull of the ship, where they had the enslaved people stacked on top of each other. Just think about this. There's good 1,000, 1,500 people on the boat, and they ain't getting no bathroom breaks. They ain't getting no rest breaks. Somebody Google it for me, because I didn't, just the fact I didn't write down how long it took to get from Africa to America on a ship like that. Remember, they ain't had motors and all that. These were sails. All right. Okay, so the Enrollment Congregation is a group that sponsored this trip, and they call it a pilgrimage. The pilgrimage again started in Atlanta, Georgia, and went to Birmingham, Alabama. From Birmingham went to Selma, Alabama. From Selma went to Montgomery, Alabama. The next 2 weeks, what you'll be hearing are facts, but also it's some. How many of y'all were with us when we went to Memphis? On that trip. So at Memphis, we went to the Civil Rights Museum there. That's the place where King died, the Marine Hotel. You can't go through that experience and not feel something on the back end of it. It's extremely emotional. And if you went to Memphis and you've had that experience in Memphis, multiply that times 10 when it comes to this trip. You think the Rain Hotel was emotional. This one will blow you, and that's why it's so extremely important. Is even if y'all don't go, I get to teach y'all about it. I get to talk about it, all right? You're gonna feel like you were there. So come on, go with me. All right, so that was a trip. Facts, the feelings, the faith, and then how we move forward. The facts are the facts. The feelings are, again, I think what we oftentimes have gotten so out of touch with, we need to get back in touch with. Because if it doesn't bother you, there's something else wrong. If it didn't anger you, there's something else wrong. If you don't have some emotions tied to what happened to us as people, there's something else wrong. And there are a lot of people that just want to forget about it. Let's just not talk about it because it makes you feel bad. Well, okay. And we just not gonna talk about it. The epitome of dysfunctional family. We just ain't gonna talk about it. This is way too important to our people and to the generations coming behind us for us not to talk about it. And truth be told, America's pretty much stopped talking about it. Matter of fact, you bring it up in some circles, they'll ask you, well, we gotta rehash all that. And I'll explain to you why it's important as we go through this, all right? Okay, I don't know, well, I know y'all ain't gonna read that, but that's just it's a summary. What happened, the most interesting part of this one was the number. I just never had a number attached to it. Between 10 to 12 million people. Do y'all hear what I said? Million, not thousand, not hundreds. And that's the number they counted. You can probably add another 5 onto that. Million. Here's why it became an industrialized profit for those who were slave owners. Do you know that slave owners, people that were getting enslaved people, could take out insurance policies on the slaves? And if they died, they got paid for it. Yeah, I'm talking from Africa. So the 2 million that died at sea had a price tag on their head. Every time a slave died, the slave owner got paid an insurance premium. That don't make you mad? Okay, maybe it's just me. Let me not put my emotions on y'all. Got paid. Got paid. So the next part of my history search is, who were the insurance companies? Because I promise they still exist, they just changed their names. Because insurance companies don't change the way they operate, they change the names. They learned that a long time ago. People with money know. If your company fell, just file bankruptcy, change the name, and start over again. They've been doing that for years. Hello, somebody. Don't think Sprint just turned in T-Mobile because it was a good deal. They've been doing that. They've been doing that for years. So if somebody want to help me with the research, y'all can do that too. Who was the insurance companies? Because I'm looking into who needs to be paying the reparations. Because it ain't just the federal government. There was a whole lot of private industries that benefited and still benefit to this day. So if we were responsible for building the wealth, how come we don't have part of it? Things that make you go, All right. So it was a 12 million it was the torturous journey, and the over 12 million. The 2 million that died at sea was the most sobering thing. So when you walk in this one exhibit, the very first exhibit is a movie screen, and all that's being shown is just waves. I had no idea that was going to happen before I titled this movie, The Way, Trusting the Ways of God. But I'm telling you, this also, it'll cause you a little crisis of your faith. It'll cause you to ask God, now, God, how you gonna let something like this just happen to us? Y'all don't talk to God like that. Why do you just stop it? Why did it have to go on for 400 years? If it had gone at all, 400 years. When you add slavery to Jim Crow and all the other stuff, and the years keep on clicking, and we still struggling. And we've never, I don't know, what kind of price tag you gonna put on 2 million lives? How much is your life worth? You had to put a dollar sign on it. The insurance company did though. We can find out what they were paying. And I bet you it was more than $100. 2 million, can you imagine getting a check for 2 million heads? Even if it was 100, that's interesting. All right, where we at? Here we go. All right, so the memorial in Montgomery, and so what I'm doing is reversing the order, because I think this is the order that we should go if you're trying to chronicle what happened. The slave ports were Montgomery, Charleston, and then all up the southern coast, all the Carolinas, Virginia. Most of them had places where they dropped slaves off. The very first port, the very first thing when they got off ship was trading blocks, where the enslaved owners could go there and then purchase these slaves when they got off the ships. And they sold them. They would announce it. They would advertise it. Slaves gonna be here Tuesday. And they sold them. And what also came with them was a piece of paper. I always wondered, even in the movies, what was the paper? It was the insurance policies being transferred to the new owner. Insuring people. So the ports were important. The waves were important because they tell the untold story of the 2 million people didn't make it. And what a story to tell. Nobody knows who they are. Unnamed, undocumented, unrecorded. If you go back to Africa, you may find out. But nobody knows. And that's, again, these are estimated numbers. At the height of enslavement, there was 10 to 12 million people who were enslaved being traded. And then the lynchings from 1882 to 1968 were horrific as well, to the tune of between 35 and then some records say up to 4,000 people that were just hanged. When you think about 1882, this is when slavery ended. What year did slavery end? Well, what year was the Emancipation Proclamation? So they make y'all learn that in the history, in your history classes. But do they tell you the history of how long lynching took? I don't ever remember nowhere in none of the books I read. Because a direct result of the slaves being free was now we got to find a way to keep them enslaved. Today, in 2023, you know it's still legal to have slaves? They call them inmates now. The industry just changed. We can't keep you slaves, but now we're going to create this prison industry. And at the height of the war on drugs, you know how many people were in prison? About 10 million. They just swapped the places. They ain't on plantations no more. Now they're in prison, penitentiaries, where the new Jim Crow came in. Do y'all know wasn't no police departments before slavery? The police patrol started during slavery. So if a slave got free, the police patrols were the ones that were deputized to go get them or go kill them. The police departments, as we know them, were created to catch or kill Black folks. And in 2023, you think things have changed? I'm just saying. So the lynchings were important because, let me show you these pictures, because the pictures are important. That's on the left side to you. The other thing is we got to stop making it sound pretty. It wasn't just slavery, it was chattel slavery. Meaning that they were in chains. Everywhere they went, until they were going to work, and oftentimes even while they were working, they were in chains. in the fields. The normal workday was about 14 hours. From sun up to sundown, and if they work in the summertime, y'all know what time the sun goes down in the summertime? Come on, think about it. With no lunch break, every now and then some water. And if you ever been in Arkansas, Mississippi, Georgia, South Carolina in the summertime, it ain't no joke. And that's how America got built. That's what our kids need to know. Here's what we need to know. If our great-great-grandparents went through that, and if you hear, that means your great-grandparents made it. If you hear, that means your great-great-grandparents, somebody down in your lineage, made it through all this. So somebody tell me, what's our struggle? With all the freedom that we got, with all the access that we had, with all the confidence with all the stuff we have going for us, why we ain't doing no better than we are? These folk had nothing to work with. It was against the law to teach them to read. I'll get to the systems in another. I can't talk about all the systems. It was against the law to teach the slave read. And the other thing that happened when they sold them on the slave blocks is they separated the ones that related to each other. They destroyed families. And a whole lot of slaves spent a whole lot of time just trying to find their families once emancipation was signed. It was brutal. So at this memorial, this is one in Montgomery, you'll see in the top left, all those are columns. And every column represents a county and a state in America. Most of them are Georgia, Alabama, Mississippi, Texas. But just about every state lynched somebody. These are documented lynchings. And then on the columns, you see the markings, that's the name and the year the person was killed. That's just a fourth of the exhibit. What's under the overhang, that's about that corner that you see, that's got a roof on top of it, that's maybe 1/4 of the exhibit. It goes further back and further across. I just had to get as far as I could away and take a picture that I thought would capture all of it, but there's no view that you can capture that will see all of it. And you know, I had to go find Missouri. And you know the city in Missouri that lynched the most people? Take a guess. Close. Springfield. And on a good day, you don't want the sun to go down on you. Today, in Springfield. I don't know how the kids go to school down there. I was so glad my didn't want to go to Springfield. I don't know how and I know things different. Columbia ain't much better. Jeff City ain't much better. Most counties had a couple. Missouri was not. I had to find Missouri. Every state has, not every county, but most counties had something. All right. This is just, again, a memorial. And on the right-hand side, you'll see, if I try to pull it up, what they have is the state and then the number of people that were lynched. What you also will find in history was it was not just Black people that were lynched. White people that were helping Black folk got lynched too. And a lot of that's not talked about in history. They was lynching. And guess when they did it, y'all? On Sunday after church. The reason why we shouldn't call our get-togethers picnics is the verbiage they used on deciding who they were gonna hang. We're gonna go pick a. That's the short version of it. I know I ain't changed the culture today, And these 15 people ain't about to change what black people call picnics. I'm just saying a lot of stuff we do out of ignorance, because we just don't know no better. And it's gonna stay that way until we improve upon our ignorance. They just got a church. And they were posted, 2 o'clock, Sunday afternoon on City Square, we hanging so-and-so. And they would be there with their kids, watching. For all these folks who say, I didn't do it, I bet you there's some still living that was there sometime. Because we're still talking 50s and 60s. The last recorded one, the last record I read was 1968. And again, that's the ones we know about. Do you remember finding some people hung in a couple of cities a couple of years ago? Not too long ago, I don't think about 4 or 5, I know it was pre-pandemic, so it must be about 5 or 6 years ago, the boy that got tied to a car and got dragged through the city. That stuff ain't over. It ain't going nowhere. Because for me, it can't go nowhere until we deal with the fact that it's there. It's in America's DNA. And so the sobering reality is it happened so much that it just became normal. I was gonna make this analogy. My father in the hospital. So Sunday, when they took him, he had shortness of breath. When they got there, they said he had fluid on his heart and on his lungs. And y'all know if you get fluid on your heart and your lungs, it's gonna be hard to breathe. His commentary was, though, I felt okay. And that's what I think about the condition of America. There's fluid on the lungs and the heart. America's dying. But on a good day, we're saying, I'm cool. I'm all right. Got a heart problem, but we just learn how to keep on moving, keep on pushing, just keep on going. As if one day it ain't gonna catch up with us. So that's just another lesson to know. So that I'm giving away, but you can look at the slide. So which state you think had the most lynchings? Mississippi, hands down. They chronicalized 580. It's probably more like 600 or 700. Next, number 2. Alabama and Georgia are pretty close. They're running neck and neck. Most of them, even in this account, Alabama is at 340, and then Mississippi and Georgia. Georgia was the next one. Georgia's at 500. Right. So Georgia and Mississippi were kind of Georgia and Mississippi. And just think about how many black folk in Georgia and Mississippi right now. And things have not changed politically at all. All right, so that was just, at the height, so you get to the very bottom of the right-hand slide, it says 4,700. That number varies by a couple of thousand, depending on who's doing the recording. If you were to average up, that'd be about 5,000 people that died just because they got lynched. That's just from lynching. This ain't about burning and tar and feather and the beatings. This is people that get hanged from a tree or from something. 5,000 people. And you wonder the main reason they did the lynchings? In front of the other slaves? To put terror in them so they wouldn't do the same thing the person who got lynched for. But we want to call the Taliban terrorists. I'm just trying to give y'all some verbiage that'll help you with what's going on right now. And I don't like what's going on. I'm saying, okay, but America ain't got no finger to point at nobody. Not when it comes to killing innocent people. So this was Montgomery, and in this exhibit, seriously, y'all, I couldn't take it no more. I had to walk. So Montgomery on our trip was the last one. So we'd already been to Alabama, we'd already been to Atlanta, Birmingham, and so this was the last day I was gonna be with them. And going through this one, I couldn't go through the whole thing. I had too much because I'm about to go hurt somebody now. And what you need to understand, the reason why things aren't better even today, because in their mind they know it was wrong. But there's also something in the conscience that believes that if we get in power, we're gonna get them back. And I don't care who they are. I don't care how much you like them. I don't care how much you love them. I don't care if they ate at your house. There's an innate thing inside white people that lets them know that what happened wasn't right. And on a good day, but they still don't want you to be in power. Oh, what happened was wrong to y'all, but I still don't want you to be my boss. You're probably more qualified than I am, but I don't. Why? Why? Because I believe, and they believe as a culture, that if we ever get in power and really find out what they did to us, we're gonna do the same. And they don't even know it ain't in us to do that. Because we're gonna do that. I can kill a few white people by now already. Y'all ain't gonna say I mean, if that's how we operated, I done had a couple opportunities, Carlos, to just, slip up on somebody. If that was in us, it ain't even in us. It ain't in our DNA. As bad as we've been treated, as patriotic as we have been, the last thing we're gonna do when we get in power is gonna hang a bunch of white people. It ain't in us. We be crying while we trying to pull them. So, somebody be grabbing your arm, don't do it. we can't get it done. Because somebody go tell on what we're doing. So we can't get organized enough to be successful. Because somebody go tell. They about to lynch something. So I listen, look here, and this is where I was when I walked out of the exhibit. I said, I just gotta find something that's gonna make me laugh because this is too. It was just when I tell you heavy, my feet almost wouldn't move. I just had to go sit down for a minute. But the reality is, this should be required for everybody before they graduate high school. And for some of us that are grown, we probably need, look, I'm telling you, I learned I ain't talking about little bitty things. I learned a whole lot. And I think I've been pretty up on our history and what's been going on. But this thing just blew me completely away. Completely away. So this was my girl. Selma is a landmark. Selma was the most depressing part of the journey. I'll tell you why. Every place else, in most of these places, was national landmark, and you can tell the national force or whoever they are had put money into the monuments. And so you go to Atlanta, the King Monument, they actually have Martin and his wife entombed on a lake. And I was like, they really in there? They said, yeah. I was like, oh, y'all really got them sitting on the water like that? It's cool though, man. I got a picture of it. But Selma is just the bridge. The Edmund Pettus Bridge is where they went across. They called it Bloody Sunday when the police attacked them for walking across the bridge. And there's nothing, in some matter of fact, maybe a year or two ago, a tornado just hit it. So it really looked bad on top of the fact nothing had been developed around the bridge. Where in other places, when you were marking something historically, you got monuments, you got brand new buildings, brand new bricks. Atlanta and Birmingham and Montgomery, all the exhibits were looking spotless. Selma just looked like a dirty old country town. I'm like, this is a shame. So somebody just need to buy the whole city. Guess who's gonna buy the whole city? I don't know, but as soon as I find out, I'm like, I want to just buy the whole city. I'm about to set up a meeting with Jay and Don and go tell them, look, man, y'all want to do some paying back, y'all want to do some reparations, we need to go fix up Selma, Alabama. It should be a tourist site, it should be hotels and all kind of restaurants all up and down the river. And it can happen. I don't know why. I kept asking the folks, why ain't nothing? It ain't none of us. We don't have the will to do it. It ain't, and you can almost even hear in their voices, they still stuck in that slave mentality. Because if you ain't never been out of Selma, you think not being out of Kansas City is a trip. Try never being going anywhere but Selma. The highlight of the trip though, one of the guys, it was about 6 preachers that pastors were with us. One of the guys, grandparents actually used to live in Selma. He told the tour guide where he thought the house was, and so they went looking for it. They found the house. He found the house where for the first 12 years of his life, he would be sent from Chicago or Detroit, I can't remember which city, to Alabama to visit his grandparents. And he did it every year until the year Emmett Till got killed. And he marched that. I mean, I'm like, now the trip is irrelevant. I just want to talk to this dude because I got his number. I'm about to go. He's from DC now. I'm about to go to DC and go see the exhibit up there. We got a whole thing planned. But I'm like, after he said that, and so we actually walked in the house. It's abandoned, but the door was open. So we got to walk in. He said, yeah, I remember that. Remember my grandmother could. He just started. It was priceless. So I was telling him, so you think the family? He said, yeah, last night. So the next day, he said, last night, I called my wife, said we found the house. And I called my sister, said, no, we're going to try to get the house and fix it up. And I'm like, yeah, we need to get the whole block. You know, give me an inch. I'm going to tell you, y'all, I want to buy at least the waterfront. I need somebody to go price it for me, see what kind of money we need. And we're going to make an excursion to Selma mandatory for high school juniors and seniors. Matter of fact, well, it could be younger, but the stuff you're gonna see, you gotta prepare for it. You can't, we just went, what I don't suggest what they did to us. We just went cold turkey, with no preparation for what you got to see, with no, it was like, okay, here we go, next exhibit. And I was ready for some of it. So I know now, if we're gonna do it, we need some preparation and get the folk ready for it. All right. So Bloody Sunday was 1965. They tried to go across the bridge actually 3 times. There's only 2 that's really recorded, but it was actually 3 times. Guess why they didn't do it the first time? I know you can't guess, but they didn't do it the first time because King said he couldn't be there. King had some important business he had to take care of back at home. And he couldn't be there, so he didn't want him to do it because he wasn't going to be there. I don't know if it was arrogance or that, but he just wanted to be there. So they canceled the first one. Something else happened. Here's the story from the people that lived in the city, because people that gave us a tour were actually teenagers at the time the marches happened. This dude, and it was one that was kind of Afrocentric. He was like, but there was another one that was like kind of the gatekeeper. And some of his conversation was a little. Here's one thing he said. He's president of ACP. Said somebody called him from another parish and wanted him to come and protest some restaurant because he was in the restaurant and somebody in the restaurant called him a nigger. And he said, I ain't got time to be chasing stuff like that. You don't get upset in today's world because somebody call you. I'm looking at him like, how you not gonna fight for the very? I just got more important stuff. Okay, give me at least 3 of the things more important than you fighting somebody. Just give me a list of them and I might go with you, but I can't see. And then I had to pull myself back because I had to remember that some people are comfortable with things just the way they are. And when and if you start trying to disturb the status quo, you're gonna run into trouble. Congressman Lewis would call it though good trouble. You just got to decide, is this fight worth fighting? I'm not even sure we're gonna win, but it's at least worth getting in the fight. And too many times, y'all, we sit on the sidelines watching the fight when we should be getting into it and trying to come up with some solutions to some of the issues that are going on. We ain't broke, we ain't poor, we ain't outnumbered, we just won't come together. because everybody's looking out for themselves. I ain't mad at nobody for looking. You need to take care of your house. I get that. You got to make sure you straight. I can't help nobody if I ain't straight. But after I get straight, it ain't nothing else I need to be fighting for. If nothing else, just for the sake of the history. Just for the sake of us doing the right thing by the generations coming behind us. Because schools all this country have decided they ain't teaching this. Okay, you ain't gonna teach it? I guess we just gonna have to take up the mantle and do something ourselves. So it kind of, battery just died. It kind of reinforced, no, it's good. I didn't have plugged up. You kind of don't charge if you don't plug it up. So, it reinforced a whole lot of stuff and really did kind of crystallize what I thought, because I'm still, as we get to continue this process of getting to this new, whatever it is we're doing, I'm constantly listening for what it is specifically God wants us to be doing. Civil rights ain't nothing new. That y'all that know me will know this ain't new to me. I've been fighting for this stuff for years. Here's the thing, and I'll finish with this one. That I thought about, actually what I'm looking at, and God says, that's why right there. 1961 is when they started the sit-ins and the bus rides to go march. And they would take buses from the north, go down to the south. And another picture from Birmingham is where they put the water hoses on people and the dogs. All that stuff was around 1961. March, April, May, 1961. I was born in November 1961. So guess what was going on the whole time I was in my mother's womb? I was being born in the midst of all. I can only imagine what she could have been going through, knowing she's about to give birth to a Black boy in this society. There's some conversations, y'all, you need, if your parents are still here, you need to have some conversations with them. And get some information from them, because, and they don't talk about it, and they ain't gonna talk about it unless you ask them. But if they still alive, and they were alive doing this stuff, find out from them what their perspective was. I can only imagine being pregnant, watching this stuff unfold on TV when it comes to civil rights. And Kansas City was not eliminated from that. There was some crazy stuff going on in Kansas City as well. Because it helps you understand why maybe you're doing some of the stuff that you do. Why I'm so passionate about this civil rights stuff. When ain't this stuff just over? No, it ain't over, it ain't close to over. And every time one of us gets into a high position that we wasn't supposed to get into, they remind us, you ain't supposed to be there. Yeah, all this stuff Deion Sanders is going through ain't nothing but chattel slavery. He done got too high, he's too cocky, he talked too much, and rich white folk that's used to controlling stuff don't like that. So we're gonna put that in his place. That's America. That's the America we living in, y'all. And yeah, he could be a little more quiet. He could be a little more cool. But how you gonna tell Deion Sanders to be cool and be quiet? When has he ever been quiet? And now he gonna change because he's the head coach of Colorado? Y'all knew what y'all were getting when you hired him. The problem is America just ain't ready for it. I'll end with this, Carl. Every Sunday, or every Monday, they talk about how bad the bad quarterbacks have done on Sunday, don't they? They said that the quarterbacks that did bad. And I promise you, Colin Kaepernick is probably better than all of them. And he still ain't got no job. So if you think slavery's over, it ain't chattel slavery, it ain't plantation slavery, but the mentality is still the same. If you get out of line, we might not hang you from a tree, but we're gonna hang you economically. We're gonna hang you professionally. We're gonna make sure you don't get a chance. And we're gonna do all we can to keep you down. I promise you, Colin Kaepernick can probably throw better than half the quarterbacks in the NFL right now. But he ain't never gonna get another chance. Because he took a knee and didn't stand for an anthem that celebrates slavery. Things that make you go, the blood of our ancestors are crying from the ground, and America's gotta own up to one, what they've done, but find a way to repair what's been done as well. I don't know what that is. I got some suggestions if the president ever want to call me, but you know, you can start with this one. Y'all just say amen. No property taxes for the next 200 years. Matter of fact, no taxes on that. So don't give us a check. Just no taxes. No federal, state, county, or city taxes for the next 200 years for anybody that's black. Works for me. Save me from writing a check on December 31st. Free car registrations, free, no taxes on nothing for the next 200 years. And if you did that, and if you were successful doing it, you still wouldn't come close to paying the bill. Because everybody's like, we can't just write them a check. Well, yeah, you can. They don't even know that would be wise. If you write them all a check, you're gonna get the money right back because most of us just gonna go spend it. Why you think they gave the stimulus checks out during the pandemic? All the stores was closed, wasn't buying nothing. They said, let's send them some money. And then what they did when tax season came? Taxed it. How you gonna tax the money you gave me? It was taxpayers' money that you gave me. Now you gonna tax the taxpayers' money. I wish I didn't know, but all right, okay, all right, I'm done. I'm done. I think I'm done. We've come a long way, y'all. We still have a long way to go. And it's my supposition that if the church don't do it,